All right, we're back. 2-week hiatus is over. This is DAO Talk, your one-stop shop for everything DAOs. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Frisian.
All right, let's get into it. We've been gone for 2 weeks. DAO NYC happened last week, which was the DAO event of the year, happened in New York City. It was amazing. We got to meet a lot of operators, contributors, founders in the DAO space, a lot of really good conversations. If you were there, you would think we were not in a bear market. It was just a great time overall. Frisian, you want to give us some thoughts, some background into, what you thought about the event, what people need to know about the event? Go from there.
Hell yeah. DAO NYC was a very special experience. I know it was for myself, and talking to a lot of folks that I met there. I think a lot of people feel the same way. I think Alicia really captured it best here. Like it was a really high quality event on all fronts: speakers, venue, catering, seating arrangement, check-in, graphics. I think it was just really well executed, which I think is very refreshing compared to just a lot of what's gone on in the crypto market recently, and definitely a lot of what was going on during NFT NYC. So I think people really appreciated that. I also think that the content was very refreshing and very wholesome as well. The DAO NYC team really put a lot of effort into pulling together about 60 folks who are really in the trenches in DAOs, doing important work, learning new things, and doing so in a very genuine, wholesome way. And so I think people really appreciated that as well. Like, in short, it was basically good vibes, really, really good vibes, and certainly made me, really refreshed and motivated to continue working in the space.
Yeah, I think, good vibes vibes is used a lot in space, but if you're not looking at this, there's these beautiful, like, Persian red rugs that just covered the floor with pillows, and it was a very laid back, like, open and welcoming atmosphere. You could come and go as you please. It got pretty crowded towards the mid end of the day. If you haven't seen pictures of what happened where you were there, I would go check them out on the DAO NYC Twitter page, or you might have seen some retweets if you're listening to this. Overall, it was just an amazing experience. We didn't get to see a lot of panels because we were doing interviews with speakers, which those will come out. DAO Talk interviews coming out pretty soon. So if you didn't go to DAO NYC, you have a lot of options for how to consume content. We are going to have all the panels posted soon on the DAO NYC YouTube or Tally YouTube. That is to be decided. Also, we will have, I think, 18 interviews with those 60 speakers. Frisian mentioned we were able to have individual interviews with 18 of them, have a little more hands-on, in-depth conversation with each of those people, which were pretty similar to what they talked about on their panels. We were just able to go a little bit deeper. So a lot of content coming out of here from our end. Also, a lot of content, I think, just in the space in general. Like you said, just amazing conversations. And I think everyone left feeling very refreshed and happy to be in the DAO space. Something we were talking about beforehand was, it wasn't on purpose, but it was perfect timing with NFT NYC happening that week. And, kind of counter positioning to that, crypto bro, like grifty, like shady, slimy kind of like one moon atmosphere. It was just awesome all around. There was someone we had to kick out, which was kind of funny.
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, you can tell what happened.
Yeah, so everyone who was at DAO NYC was there for the content, there to make friends, there to learn, there to share knowledge, except for one person who managed to get hold of a ticket somehow and showed up in like a full Bored Ape costume and just walked around after every session concluded, taking selfies with everyone without really asking their permission. So we kicked them out to maintain the vibes. Not going to lie, I felt good.
So I have some background on that. Not that I want to give it, but like it wasn't someone that Bored Ape hired per se. I think it's a pretty famous, like the account has like 30 or 40,000 followers. And this individual was just like, that was their their shtick is they have this really shitty like morph suit that they run around in. Just I think their whole point is to be cringe because people talk about it. Like that's what we're doing. So yeah. So we'll move on from that. But yeah, DAO NYC was great. If you saw us, awesome. We loved talking and meeting everyone there. Everyone was really awesome. And Fraser, do you have anything else you want to say before we move on to this week in DAOs?
Yeah, you mentioned that we did 18 interviews while we were there. Looking forward to pushing those out through DAO NYC. We did our first interview last week. We published our first interview with Chris Winfrey from Hop. I thought it was really insightful. I think all the interviews we recorded at DAO NYC are equally insightful, and hopefully DAO Talk can really become a one-stop shop for all of the most interesting things that are happening in the DAO space. I know personally, having conducted and listened to all of those interviews, it made me extremely bullish on DAOs because of the 18 people that we interviewed. They're all building and leading in totally different areas. Like it made me realize how broad the surface area of the DAO space is. It's really just a canvas for people to coordinate and work together towards a shared vision. And what that has created is an opportunity for a lot of people to build something they're passionate about or to contribute to something they're passionate about across, every possible topic you could imagine. And I think that's like really bullish for DAOs and also for crypto, because a lot of these communities, it's not like about when moon. Like in many cases, there isn't even an opportunity to speculate, just like the way the community is, the way the DAO is. It's not really oriented around getting involved from a speculation perspective. And it attracts people who like actually want to work on whatever the DAO is focused on. And I think that's like much more sustainable and also a path towards onboarding a much wider diversity and larger number of people into Web3. So I think like I'm going to call it now. I think DAOs are going to lead the next bull market, or not even the next bull market, but just like they're going to lead crypto towards sustainability because it kind of creates that surface area for people to really work on stuff they care about, and maybe is not entirely dependent on, price go up.
100% agree. Yeah. It's an exciting future. There's not much else to say about that. I'm just excited to see all these projects execute. And like you said, the underlying theme of it all is, people are here for the long term and they're doing work that they love to do, and people want to do work that they love to do. And I think that is the biggest asset for DAOs is it's allowing people to do work they want to do. And I know a lot of people, I would say 9 out of 10 people I know in, personally, real life outside of crypto hate the work they do. And almost everyone I've talked to in the DAO space does not. So we'll see how that plays out over, a long time horizon. And non-ironically,
when DAO NYC 2023. I'm already jonesing. It's like when you come home from a festival and you're like, I need to go back.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll see you guys next year at DAO NYC 2023. Until then, we will meet you in the metaverse. I can't believe I just said that. I hate that I said that, but we'll meet you online.
You're not allowed to cut that. We're all just going to that and when this episode of DAO Talk is published.
This might be my last episode of DAO Talk. I'm kidding. All right.
You're gonna cancel yourself for saying that.
All right. Moving on. Let's cover some our usual DAO Talk content. Our good friend, not friend. We want to be good friends, but our
future friend.
Our future
he just
friend
doesn't know it yet.
Our friendly neighborhood DAO Talk contributor, Hazu Frisian. Break down the tweet for the people that are not listening and give us a little bit of an intro on like why we should care about this.
Yeah, so this post isn't explicitly about DAOs, but I think it relates really strongly. And it goes back to what I was just talking about, where DAOs create this opportunity for people to get involved in crypto and Web3 that is much deeper and more sustainable than like buying some token and then, soft funding the project and being like, hey, why hasn't the price gone up? So like what Hazu's saying here is really like, talking to crypto Twitter broadly, the dominant culture is investors and speculators and traders. And what he's saying is, look, I'm an investor also, but some of the most and probably the most rewarding experiences I've had working in the crypto space are in actually contributing to projects. And you can see here he's contributed to multiple, right? Flashbot, Slido. He also spends a lot of time on Maker, which we're going to talk about in a minute here. And so he kind of has his hands in multiple projects and or DAOs, and is just talking about like how fulfilling that is from a personal growth perspective, but also how potentially fulfilling it can be from a financial perspective. And this would be like, if someone were to ask me, how do I break into crypto, or how do I make money in crypto, or like one of those questions, like normie questions, this is my answer. It's like, go like learn about the space, find a project that you find interesting and try to help them. And it'll kind of all flow from there. So I love this take, and I think it actually points directly towards the potential of DAOs to be a catalyst for people to enter the crypto space.
Yeah, I'm just going to read the tweet real quick for people who aren't watching. After 6-ish months in Flashbots and 3 months in Lido, I can tell you with high confidence that there is no substitute to working as an operator. I could have been a researcher, investor, podcaster for five more years and not learned 20% of the things I am learning today. And then he follows it up with, if you want to supercharge your personal growth, join a project today. There will never be a better time, especially with many valuations approaching their multi-year lows. So yeah. Kind of what we were saying earlier, like a super bullish thing for DAOs in the Web3 space is like it allows you to, like you said, supercharge your personal growth and work on things you love. And if you don't know what you love, like for instance, when I started in the space, I really didn't know what I loved, and I just joined a DAO and kind of figured it out from there. I've been in multiple DAOs since then, here ending up at Tally, but I say just like, don't view your journey as like linear. Don't be like, hey, like I think it's easy to get caught up in the traditional sense of career trajectory. Like I have to work at this one company and then have this like super linear upward mobility and like a hierarchy. It's just like learning as much as possible, staying as motivated and energized as possible, and going from there. I was listening to like a podcast with Dan Wu from Orca yesterday. And like he was talking about how a lot of the times in this space, like it never really feels like work. I think that's true. And then talking about, the downsides of like, if it never feels like work, it's hard to find work-life balance because you look back during the week and you're like, oh, I've spent 16 hours like thinking about everything that's going on in the space. Like you have to give yourself some time. It's a little bit of a tangent, but like I say that to highlight like, if you find your niche and you find what you love to do in the space, which I think it's very easy to do, it's a really good way to supercharge your growth because, you're not going to learn more.
Yeah. The flip side of this opportunity is definitely, the challenge of work-life balance. But personally, I'd much rather have that problem. Like I'm really enjoying what I'm doing and need to figure out how to, have balance and stay, make sure I'm like healthy as a whole as a person, and much rather have that problem than like, hating what I have to do. So
yeah, exactly.
Stuff.
All right. Yeah. You mentioned a little bit earlier, there's been some drama in MakerDAO, which is, I would say, the largest DAO in the space, correct?
I don't know about largest. It probably depends on how you define large. Like, is it assets or contributors? Like my take would be like number of contributors, but even number of contributors is a kind of a flawed metric because one of the things we're going to talk about here is like you don't want to just go for like how many people are contributing to your DAO because that can easily lead to like a lot of frivolous contribution. So it's probably more like how much. Probably the right way to measure a DAO is like what is sort of like the mission of the DAO, and then how much actual progress towards that mission is being made. Like how much impact is actually being made on the mission and on the world broadly is kind of how I would measure the size of the DAO, and the size of a DAO, as well as like kind of like the level of maturity from just an overall decentralization and operations perspective. So in that sense, like Maker is certainly one of the most important DAOs in the space. They were the first one to get traction and actually like operate in a decentralized way with a successful product, which is DAI and just the Maker protocol as a whole. And certainly, have scaled up. I think, I don't know how much DAI is in circulation now. It's probably in the 5 billion range. During the bull market, like it was up above 10 billion, which is, certainly a significant significant thing. So very important like DAO in the space, and one that is very possible to learn a lot from, just because of how long they've been doing it and how successfully they have, how successfully they've operated over time.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of an overview of like what is going on here. We're looking right now, if you're not watching, at a proposal that is ended. It was not passed from MakerDAO. It was put up to a vote to the community. There's a lot of good things happened here. I'll preface it with very high voter turnout. Historically, it is still low, like in terms of like raw numbers, right? But a lot of involvement in this proposal. There's a lot of controversy on Twitter around this proposal and in the MakerDAO forums. And also there will be a tally newsletter coming out relatively soon. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, that will cover most likely everything that's happening here. So we won't get too much into the weeds, but we will talk, a little bit about why, like what is important to learn from this situation, what is happening, and what are the trends that we can look at and learn from here. So Frisian, give us a little bit give us your take on this.
I'll start by reading the title of the governance proposal. This is a MakerDAO governance proposal, just which probably won't tell you that much, but also like that's true of a lot of the language in MakerDAO governance proposals. So the title is Ratification Poll for Adding Lending Oversight Core Unit Love 001, which is like, I guess, abbreviation for the proposal or like the proposal name. So, on a high level, like this is, so Maker is organized into core units, which are kind of like pods-ish or sub-DAOs, like departments or something like that, right? Who are different functions that are focused on different aspects of growing the Maker protocol and DAI. And so this proposal is to add a new one. And this proposal would create basically like a small, specialized, highly knowledgeable group of people who are specifically responsible for oversight over like onboarding new, lenders onto the Maker protocol. And so this is, certainly a major proposal within Maker, but not only did people want to vote on this because it's sort of like an important change, it kind of turned into a broad referendum on how Maker and DAOs in general really should be operated. So there's kind of one camp here that says like, we want to create these specialized groups who have a lot of autonomy where they can like take a part of Maker and go and execute well on that. And then their budget and their funding and their status is overseen by the DAO as a whole, but the individual decisions that get made about like what types of collateral assets to onboard are delegated fully to this group. So the advantages of that are you probably get like, you might be able to get better decisions because like the people making the decisions are more knowledgeable than the average token holder. It also allows the DAO to move much faster and more efficiently than running everything through governance. So that's like one camp, and that's kind of who the group that was like that made this proposal and also voted yes on it was kind of in that corner. Then the other side was like, the opposite of that. It's like, well, that's not really decentralized, right? Like we shouldn't have kind of these groups that are have the ability to make unilateral decisions for the DAO without actually running it through all of the token holders. There's also a concern that like these groups are once they're created, they're sort of incentivized to like grow themselves. So you could think of this similar to like a department or a function within a traditional company where like as soon as you create the department and the headcount and the funding, like all the people in that, like their main focus becomes making that department bigger so they can like have more responsibility and keep their jobs. And so like you see this kind of bloat happening maybe in some of the other core units of Maker where they have funding and they kind of like spend time trying to grow their influence and budget and ability to make decisions. So those are kind of the two sides, and it turned into a full-blown like fight over how Maker is run. So prominent people who are kind of excited about this proposal, Hazu, Monet Supply, who works with Tally and has a lot of votes delegated to him. And then you have other folks who are more like traditionalist about DAOs and decentralization, perhaps led by Rune. Rune, who's the founder of MakerDAO, and has a huge amount of voting power delegated to him, that were kind of against this proposal and want to move in a different direction. So it ended up getting shot down, but I do not think this is the end of the discussion about how Maker should be run. I think these questions about like what are the right ways to organize DAOs, what does decentralization really mean, how do we allow DAOs to move faster, how do we create better alignment between decisions and like subject matter expertise, all those questions are still very much up in the air. So it's exciting to see this debate happening in public. And I think we can look forward to more of these questions coming to light over time.
Yeah, for sure. I think like you said, it's still very much up in the air of like, what is the most efficient way to run a DAO? And I think there's going to be some sacrifices that come from the like perfect idealistic idea of decentralization. I'm not like, I don't want to make any crazy statements of like, you know, philosophically, what do I think is better or worse? But I think like in regards to like operating efficiently, like we've talked about Orca a little bit, but that idea of like, as a whole, the DAO is decentralized, but there's these localized working groups that have their individual hierarchies. I think that's like an interesting middle ground where it's like the organization as a whole is decentralized, but there's these little working groups with their own local hierarchies. But then you run into the problem, like you said, of like, well, then those hierarchies, those working groups are incentivized to get as much funding and much power as possible. So I don't know exactly what it looks like in regards to like, hey, I know those problems are being solved and addressed, but I don't have enough information to say like what exactly is in place to stop that from happening. But like you said, I just don't think this is over. I think it's a good discussion and it's a good conversation to have, because right now I think DAOs have no idea really how to operate in a way that is sustainable long term, and that allows things to function. Like we've talked a lot about in past episodes, just like the problems with governance models and tokens and whatnot. And there's a lot of very like well-deserved criticism of the way DAOs are governed currently. And a thing I tweet about a lot, if you follow me, is that, you know, I'm not a big fan of like people just shitting on the way DAOs operate and govern without providing a solution, especially when you have a very large audience. I think, especially when these people, like these large accounts, know that what they're doing, and I know they're smart enough to come up with a solution, that I just don't think it's beneficial for the space. But, you know, we need that negative feedback, right? I just think negative feedback should come with, you know, a little bit of positive criticism moving forward. So it's cool to see this playing out on a very large scale in regards to MakerDAO. Again, that Tally newsletter will be coming out pretty soon. And if we did not completely fulfill your appetite for this Maker drama, check that out for sure. Or follow Monet Supply on Twitter. He is probably one of the best accounts to follow for that. And speaking of, that's who we are going to talk about next. He had an interesting thread about the difference between sentiment checks within DAO. So you're thinking of like a snapshot tool, or if you don't know what snapshot is, like the way DAO functions is you need to gauge the sentiment of the group. So say you want to, you you have an idea for a proposal and you want to gauge, hey, is this proposal worth even putting to an actual vote? You would put out a poll. So like originally, maybe you have a Discord poll with like 4 different options, and then Snapshot arose, which is an application that has a centralized interface that allows DAOs to send users to their interface, take a vote, and something that Monet Supply is talking about here is Faye and Tribe DAO. They had a vote. There was a hack, and they wanted to reimburse the people affected by the hack, so they made a snapshot vote. I think calling it a vote is a little bit misleading here, and that's kind of what this thread is about. It's a sentiment check, right? It's not an actual vote. There's nothing that is put on chain. There's nothing that is put permanently into the organization, right? So what they did is about 6 months ago, they voted yes to reimburse the people affected by the hack. And then recently they put an actual vote. So like we said, we talked about the snapshot, which is just a sentiment check. There's nothing binding there. Recently they put it to a vote on tally. And the difference between snapshot and tally, if you don't know, is tally is actual on-chain voting. So when a vote is passed on tally, it is executed on chain, which means it is permanent, it is law, and that is the difference, right? And this debate he's having here, and we'll link the thread, but he makes some interesting points, like that people don't understand the difference between what I just said, right? What is the difference between snapshot and tally, or what is the difference between sentiment voting or signal voting and actual on-chain governance? So I guess, Frisian, you can kind of take this where you want to go. Like, what are your thoughts on all of this? Is it who is I guess let's go down the road of like who is the burden on in regards to understanding that snapshot is not actual law, right? It is purely sentiment. Is it on the people proposing, or is it on just like people participating in DAOs? Because I feel like we're so early in the DAO ecosystem where it's like, for instance, me, that this whole thing is something very recently that I've had to like, kind of process and view proposals through a different lens. So
yeah, absolutely. So I think you did a great job explaining the situation here. It's like even Kobe, who's very smart and participates in governance in various forums, super experienced, like didn't necessarily explain this is like, oh, the community voted one thing, now they're executing something different. It's like, no, the community signaled one thing through a poll on Snapshot, and then when the vote actually happened, the community decided something different. And like this is where it's there's a pretty strong analogy to like the way that corporate law works. For example, in the U.S., like it's one thing for like shareholders or employees to express certain views, but when it comes down to it, who ultimately has authority over what decisions get made comes down to a set of very well established laws and case law around like equity and debt and just like corporate legal structures. Like actual on-chain governance is very similar to that. Like it's one thing for people to express their preferences through something like a snapshot poll, but like the on-chain governance and voting power and proposals and votes that are executed through that mechanism are like the actual that's like where the actual rights, property rights and authority get decided. And like people need to understand that. Right. Like, and I don't think they do. I know when I first entered the space, I thought that voting in a snapshot poll was governance, and it's really not. It's one important step in kind of refining proposals. Like people come up with ideas and then they discuss them on discourse, and then they get a social signal to see what the community thinks about it. But it's not actually like, it's not actually a part of like the true governance process, right? The true governance process comes down to like who actually has, the power in coin voting, or if it's maybe a less decentralized DAO, who signs on the multi-sig, like that's governance, right? And what gets implemented there. So I think it's really incumbent upon everyone, experienced participants like Kobe, the heads of projects, get DAO tooling and governance toolings providers to really make it clear what the difference is there. I know on Tally, we actually recently released. So we started focusing just on kind of that on-chain execution, proposal creation, voting, delegation. We're kind of moving up the stack, towards the earlier phase of kind of the governance process. And we just released functionality. We just released it to a few of the DAOs on Tally, but soon we'll release to everyone to do this kind of social signal snapshot style voting. And we're trying to make that very clear in our interface. Like, you can create a proposal that's like off chain and is basically a social poll. And then separately, you can create an on chain proposal that actually goes through like the true governance process. So something we're working on as well. And I think we'll continue to see this education process happen over time.
Yeah. I think it's just an education issue, right? And you treated it earlier this week, like in a non-ironic cringe way, we are really early, right? It is the meme, but like, it is true. There's a lot of operational, it's pretty much every aspect of a traditional work or labor force, that we can't even solve the problem because we don't even really know it exists yet. So this is why we're here. I mean, this is why education is important, and understanding how it works, and what is important moving forward. So interesting thread. We'll link it. Definitely something to think about moving forward as you participate in your DAOs and as you run your DAOs. So
by the way, Tommy, I know we're getting through most of our topics, but like, are we still having a special guest on today, or do we need to wait for that for future episodes?
I think we might need to wait. I haven't heard back from him.
Okay, cool. That's all right. Soon. You're probably getting tired of just me and Tommy. So one day we're going to start mixing it up with a very special guest.
Yeah, we got started a little bit late today, so I think that's why. It's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. That's
right. Soon.
Also, our guest is very sick right now. If that gives you a hint.
Anyone who follows him on Twitter knows. Yeah, he has swollen things.
A lot of things. His entire body. Okay, it's your favorite time of the week. Meme of the week. We have two this week. Everyone knows about just everything fucking collapsing. So, Frisian, what is this first meme for people that are not watching? It is a TikTok. Yeah. What is happening in said TikTok?
It's more content from Eric Wall, which if you don't follow Eric Wall, if you don't follow him, her, we're not sure. Incredible follow, just like incredibly strange person, but who also is one of the most knowledgeable people in the entire crypto space about how it works. Anyway, he made a TikTok video about Three Arrows Capital. Like there's been so many amazing things coming to light now that Three Arrows Capital has collapsed, of just like wild things that they have like tweeted. The Suzu, those who do not manage their risk will have the market manage it for them. Like, yep. Bet. So yeah, you just like gotta watch this TikTok. It's just like, Eric sharing like a montage of all the feelings and experiences he's had as he, like the rest of us, have realized that literally Suzu and Kyle Davies were running a straight up Ponzi scheme, like not a Ponzi game, not an ironic Ponzi scheme. Like literally they were just like borrowing money and using the money they borrowed to generate returns so that they could borrow from other investors, not telling anyone about anyone else, posting no collateral, and then poof, it's gone. So yeah, this one was a good like vent session for me as well.
All right, last one from our boy, Mr. Dan Wu.
This one's a deep cut. I don't know if it's funny to people other than me, but like Dan Wu, he's runs product through Orca. He's a co-founder of Orca. He only follows 69 people on Twitter, which is always a classy move. I can't do it. I just like people too much. So I think I follow like 1,500 people. But like if you're going to be limited on the number of people you follow, 69 is probably the right number. And yeah, he said that he follows 69 people because someone told him 69 was Dunbar's number, which Dunbar's number is like, it's this like law or like, I don't know, like mental model rule of thumb where like there's a certain number of people past which an organization can't like manually coordinate with each other, right? And everyone can't just be in sync. That you have to create like systems to manage the coordination, which is obviously very core to like some of the things we're trying to solve in the DAO space. I don't think Dunbar's number is actually 69. It's definitely not. But it's close enough that it's hilarious. Like maybe we should just make Dunbar's number 69 for DAOs. Like the DAO Dunbar number 69. I think that's right.
Someone edit the Wikipedia article for that.
Yeah, that's right. The DAO bar's number
exactly
69. So we all need to, like, you know, organize. Maybe Orcapods are actually 69 people. Why? We should probably talk to Dan about that. But yeah. we everybody just needs to organize themselves in groups of 69 to really make this work. Yeah,
and if you were at DAO NYC and you saw Dan, that man was a major role in making that event go smoothly, and he was just absolutely dripped out in the best outfit I've seen all week.
Not only was he like a key volunteer leader, making sure all the speakers were getting where they needed to go, he really looked like it as well. So
we love Dan. Check him out. Otherwise, that has been episode 6 of DAO Talk. We are back. We will be back on a consistent schedule. Keep an eye out for those DAO NYC interviews dropping soon. We have some really awesome ones from some of the best DAO tooling founders, DAO contributors in the space. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
Peace.